Hello, loves. Hello, hello. Hills here from the blue flame. Oh, what magnificent energy we are navigating right now as Venus just entered the sign of creation Magick Leo. On the 25th of August, Venus, goddess energy of magnetism, love, beauty, the law of attraction, manifestation, creation. That fiery energy has entered the sign of the sun, Leo. Venus will remain in the sign of Leo all the way through almost this very, very potent Virgoan priestess moon eclipse wormhole that we are now very much fully moving through. Let's play a little bit first to say. Venus leaves Leo 2 days, 3 days before the final Virgo new moon of this year. We just had the first, which was also known as a black moon because it was the 4th new moon in a season. The second Virgo new moon, which ends this cycle, kind of brings us into the next one, is on the 21st of September, which also just so happens to be the day before the September equinox, bringing us into Libra season. On the 18th of September is when Venus will make its transit from Leo into Virgo. So let's play with some of this energy right now. Let's play with some of this energy right now. As Venus and we together with Venus move through that black moon into the now visible right after sunset crescent moon, we come on the 30th, 31st, depending on where you are. It's at 11:25 p.m. on the 30th in the Pacific time zone. We come to what is known as the second quarter moon or the half moon. This is a birthing moon. We have moved through the void, and that which we are creating is becoming more manifest. As we move into that second quarter moon phase, we find, as I mentioned, Venus having moved into the sign of Leo. This movement into Leo puts Venus exactly trine to Saturn and Neptune, still retrograde at the very, very beginning of Aries. Both Saturn and Neptune over the next month and a half will make their way back into the end degrees of Pisces. But for right now, this is a tight trine. They are being bridged by Uranus and Sedna at the 1 degree of Gemini in sextile. So Sedna, the goddess of the underworld and the Oort cloud, which we talked about in the last update, I'll have a link below, is bringing new information in for us. One of the ways that we can feel into this with the Venusian energy that is so loud right now as Venus makes this transit, where she will navigate this world, this realm of bold-hearted creation, magic taking center stage, is that we are awakening to our true birth potential, to our birthright as masters of creation. In the circle that was facilitated for the Virgo new moon, for that black moon, that first one, the opening ceremony, we talked a bit about how this earthly plane is a school of sorts for the honing of our creation magic, for the activation of our potential as master manifestors, for allowing the interaction with the elementals. Okay? This Venusian energy moving through Leo is helping create a template for further activation of this. Now, this same day, the 25th of August, when Venus entered into the sign of the Lion, Mercury emerged from the shadow of its retrograde. Remember, Mercury on the 18th of July at 15 degrees of Leo moved retrograde, having now come fully back through, and as we move through the rest of this cycle, continuing on out of that retrograde energy now. There is an interesting piece for us to play with this 15 degrees of Leo. At the same moment that Venus entered Leo, as I mentioned, Mercury emerged from the shadow of the retrograde that it had begun at 15 degrees. On the day of the total lunar eclipse in Pisces, on the 7th of September, Venus, having moved through Leo, will be at that exact point, 15 degrees of Leo. Now, something interesting is that that 15-degree point, that midpoint of the fire sign Leo, is an exact trine to that massive gravitational anomaly called the Great Attractor in Sagittarius. So first we had Mercury sit on that gifting point, that trine, that intersection with the Great Attractor. Come back through the whole, almost entire rest of the sign of bold-hearted creation magic. Turn back around just as we went through and began to journey into the eclipse wormhole. As Venus now comes into Leo, Mercury passes through that point again in trine to the Great Attractor, laying the foundations, clearing the path, if you will, for the goddess of infinite manifestation, the feminine creatrix that exists within each and every one of us. That primordial feminine energy that Venus is not often associated with, but is part of her also. She's not just Aphrodite. She's also the Magdalena. More on that in a second. As Venus now moves through and she begins that journey, this powerful energy of the feminine spirit. She begins that journey in trine also to Saturn and Neptune, who are starting to lay new foundations for dreaming bigger and bolder, our I am, our purpose, our drive, our passions. Now, I mentioned the Magdalena. As we move through this birthing moon week towards that second quarter moon, Venus is also traveling through the asteroid Magdalena, which is navigating that 3-4 of the sign Leo during this week. So here we have the black ray energy, that introspective energy. Venus is currently in morning star phase, so coming up visible just before the dawn in that blue hour and that golden hour, just before the sun breaches the surface. Coming into view and inviting us to rise also, to awaken with that Uranus energy. During this cycle, we also have the parade of goddesses that we've been talking about, Hygeia, Isis, and Hathor, shifting from the end degrees of Gemini, where they have been traveling together, and making their way, the Hathors first, then Isis, then Hygeia, into the sign of Cancer. The Hathors are already there. Isis will be there in the next day or two. As we move to that second quarter moon, Isis will be at the 1 degree of Cancer, so exactly square Saturn and Neptune. Hygeia will come in the next day. Now, these energies of Hathor, Isis, and Hygeia have been moving together, running in this opening to all of the various expressions of the feminine. And in this instance, they are working in a grand water trine with the rose dragons and Sekhmet over in Scorpio, and none other than Kali, and also Yeshua, bringing in that Christ consciousness energy in the sign of Pisces. So we have Sekhmet and Kali working together again. And remember, the energies of Sekhmet and Kali run the same frequency band. Okay, they are both divine mother and demon slayer. They remind us of that aspect of the feminine that will crush, that will destroy that which is not in service to our highest good. Bringing to the surface this energy, this birthing, anything that is not our truth. Anything that is not our truth, clearing out the cobwebs of our creation centers. Now, this brings me nicely to an offering that I have for our entire community, which is the Sacral Torus field activation and the Toroidal Trinity frequency presentation. A couple of years ago, through the energies of the Magdalena and Yeshua, a channeling came through that helps us to connect with that third beautiful electromagnetic energy. We often are able to connect with that Taurus field of our heart, and that's big and it's beautiful and it's larger than the one that is created by the mind, right? And these Taurus fields have been measured with scientific equipment. You can see that from our heart blooms this beautiful wormhole, donut of electromagnetic energy. It's the current that interconnects with our auric field and beyond, and deep within us. And you can measure the one of the mind as well. And it's part of that connectivity of the Siddha, that linkage between the mind and the heart. Now, we also have a magnificent and powerful electromagnetic torus field that emerges from our navel and connects in with the tip of our tailbones. This is the sacral torus field. For most of us, due to various stories, we'll say stories, this particular electromagnetic torus field has been slowed down to a dribble, barely perceptible. Most of it has to do with us being told that we are not creators in this world, that we don't have anything to offer, that we are less than. Most of these stories are meant to keep us small. And this particular frequency presentation and activation is being gifted to all of us here in the Blue Flame community. There'll be a link below to help us reclaim that birthright, which is our full energetic capacity, our full capacity to create. There can be a lot of stagnation in this area for all of us, female, male, or what have you. However you physically I am, this area of creation can be really, really hard and dense to get into. This energy of Sekhmet and the rose dragons, in particular in Scorpio, which rules the reproductive centers and the colon and these deeper, denser areas that can be kind of hard to get into. Remember, Scorpio is a fixed sign, which can have a sense of stagnation, but really it means that the levels and layers that are being penetrated are subtle and they take a little bit more attention to get into. Sekhmet helping to penetrate that with Kali in trine, Water Trine with Hathor in Cancer. These three in particular, Sekhmet, Kali, and Hathors, coming into clear out that stagnation so that we can rise up. And remember that the dragon Kundalini, the energy of the dragon, is empowerment, just like Venus in Leo is empowerment. The feminine, that creative energy within all of us roaring. I am allowed, a creator, divine. So, as we move deeper into this eclipse wormhole, we are being gifted these opportunities to connect with anything that is keeping our birthing channel closed, dampened, restricted, allowing it to open up, The rose dragons also, please remember, are an energy of detached service and empowered compassion. And what that means is that we are experiencing the capacity to meet with all of those parts of us that have been asking this channel to stay closed, meeting with all of them, not becoming them, but witnessing the pain that they are in, like the cherubim to Ershkigal, Inanna's sister, saying, ouch, my stomach, in response when they say, ouch, my stomach. When they express a fear, those parts of you acknowledge their fear. Do not embody their fear, but acknowledge it and allow them to shift through it in that way which is true and will most serve you. As part of this birthing moon, I'm going to be sharing some things over the next cycle. I'm going to be sharing the formation of a crystal grid in the shorts here on YouTube, the creation of an incense through that crystal grid, kind of a 3-part, maybe 4-part series wherein I share video-wise how an apothecary tree goes from a collection of herbs and stones into its final form. This will be one of the ways, one of the many ways over this cycle that I'm going to be sharing as a way shower, light worker that I am. Various ways that we can stimulate our creative centers. Dance is another big one for me. How do you stimulate? Cooking is another one. How do you stimulate your creative center? How do you open up that muse, that channel to the muse, and amuse yourself and create? On the 30th and 31st, before I end today, on the 30th and 31st, we will also have a fixed grand cross. I'm sorry, a mutable grand cross. Scratch the fixed. I was all in Leo energy. This is the sun and the moon. So we'll have the moon at 8 degrees of the mutable sign, Sagittarius. We will have the sun at 8 degrees of the mutable sign, Virgo. Lakshmi is at 9 degrees of Gemini. Lakshmi is another one of those energies of manifestation, abundance, prosperity. A lot of people work with the energy of Lakshmi in order to generate wealth. And I'm not just talking about currency here, but abundance, full stop. This is also working with that Kali energy in Pisces, because Kali is going to be at 7 degrees and Yeshua, of course, at 4. So we are really digging deep, cutting off anything that does not serve, like the Red Queen off with her head, as Kali would say. Now, remember that Kali is not simply a demon slayer, but also that of the golden shadow. We access within that mire all of our gifts, and we can fully embody our creative potential as we clear away any blocks to it. With that, I will close for today. I'll have another update soon regarding the total lunar eclipse in Pisces, and so much more as we continue to move through this very, very potent priestess moon's eclipse wormhole. And as always, in the always, this is shared with you with so much and many loves from the dimensions of the all and beyond the beyond.